Shot detected.
Units on scene, be advised, we received a report of gunshots on the second floor, northeast corner, in the area of room 214.
Shots fired. Contact! Contact! Stay down! Stay down!
That was part of an active shooter demonstration yesterday in Methuen at the first public school in the nation to install a gunshot detection system. Devices that look like smoke alarms are activated by the sound of gunfire. The system locates the shooter, alerts law enforcement, and sends an automated text message to school administrators. The truth is, school shootings are rare, but my next guest says he'd like to see this kind of detection technology installed in all public buildings. Joseph Solomon is Methuen's chief of police. We're also joined by Christian Connors, who is the CEO of Shooter Detention Systems. Welcome to you both.
Welcome. Thank you for having us.
Chief, how did you get to be the first in the nation test case?
Well, about 2 years ago, we became aware of some military technology, and we began working with an engineer, and then I was introduced to Chris, and we started working on it 2 years ago, taking outdoor shot detection that had a proven history in taking it indoors and doing some research and development, doing some testing, and then really brainstorming. And we were lucky enough to have met the right person at the right time that introduced us to Chris, and Chris was just willing to work with somebody to get this up and running to save some lives. So we're very lucky to have met him.
Who paid for this?
This was installed by the company, Shooter Detection Systems, Chris Connors' company.
They paid for it?
They paid for the installation.
Okay, because I was going to say it is expensive. You're not going to be able to do that in every. This is a test case, but that's one of the problems with the system. It's between $50,000 and $100,000 per school, right?
It depends on the size of the school. We did proposals today that were as low as $25,000 for smaller schools. The school in Methuen is one of the larger ones we've seen.
And what we've seen is, from my going out and getting prices on other items, for us to install camera systems in the school, which most schools have, it's a relatively equal cost to do shooter detection systems. So again, they are, you would say, expensive, but when you equate them to the cost of a camera system, they fall right in line.
All right, I have some basic questions here for you, Chris. So let's say I'm some kid in the hallway and I'm like banging the heck out of one of my lockers or something like that, and a lot of things sound like a gunshot. How does your system detect the difference between like a loud bang and a gunshot?
Sure. So what we do in the outdoor system is acoustic based only, but with the indoor system we've added infrared sensors to the system. So the microphones hear the sound of the gunshot, we run the software algorithm, but at the same time the sensors validate any muzzle flash that happens whatsoever coming out of the weapon.
Did you actually fire real gunshot yesterday?
Absolutely. Well, yesterday we fired blanks, but during the testing, we did live fire real ammo in the schools. And
no, here's a sample of it right here. So this was during the demonstration yesterday?
This was during the demonstration yesterday.
So did these guys know where the shot came from, or were they actually finding it as? They
were finding it because when the shot detection went out, it came to our console and we dispatched the location to them. Otherwise, they wouldn't have known where it was.
So they went to the exact right did it work, is what I'm getting at.
It worked, absolutely. And the interesting part is, if you're in the building and you hear the shot, say you hear it, the echoing prevents you from knowing where it's coming from. So you have to have some other way to tell you. But yes, what it does is it causes them to be able to chase it, and it reduces time to target, which is very important.
Chris, I mean, why schools? I mean, you could say post offices, whatever. We were doing the math on the number. And in the last 15 years, really, there's only been, I say only because I certainly wouldn't want my kid's school to be one, but about 30, 35 shootings inside schools. There have been any number, thousands around and outside of schools, but the risk is very, very minimal. Is it worth the expense?
Sure. So the FBI report that just came out, I don't know if you had a chance to read that, but it's basically stated that since they regulated smoke alarms and fire alarms, there hasn't been a single death in a school since that happened. There's been over 225 or 230 deaths now in schools.
What's it got to do with the fire?
What we look at it is it's an early warning sensor, so similar to a smoke alarm.
So nobody died of like a... I get you.
Since they put the regulation in and they put some technology in, which are now commonplace, of course, the sensors, there's been not even a single death in a public school. Whereas with gunfire, there's been over 200 children killed.
But you wouldn't be able to prevent it. I mean, if somebody's shooting in a school, presumably they're shooting at someone, and they could be dead before you got
Sure.
there.
In most of the instances, the shooting happens early on in the process, so they walk in and start shooting. So the lobbies, entranceways, the corporations we're working with, it's really meant to be a lobby device for them. Hospitals, emergency rooms, they only need a couple devices, so the cost for, say, a hospital to put in 2 devices is well under $10,000.
So we're not supposed to say the name of the school. I don't even know which one it is. How many schools are there in Methuen?
In Methuen, we have 5.
So are you going to lobby to have them put it in all of the schools?
We already have. We've been lobbying on the federal and state level going back almost a year, and we've also lobbied again today. And I think now that everyone saw it and saw that it actually works, I think it'll go a long ways.
Will this be part of Homeland Security? I mean, I hate to focus on the money, but are the taxpayers of Methuen going to pay for it, or
we're
the federal
looking
government?
to Department of Homeland Security because they released a significant amount of money for school safety, and then ultimately, if that doesn't work, then I think yes, it should fall on the municipalities if we can't get it funded by federal governments. And my opinion is it needs to be mandated that every single time there's a remodeling of a school or a new school built, it should be part of the building code.
Where is it going next, Chris? You know?
So to Joe's point, that brings the cost down significantly. When I'd say almost a third, if not half the cost, is the actual installation of the hardware. So when we put out a number of 50,000, the devices are only, say, 25. The rest is to put it in. So what we've and have been talking, including today, schools that are being built now, it brings the cost down significantly to put it in.
If they can put it in the wiring system for the
Exactly.
All right, Chris Connors, Chief Solomon, pleasure to have you here.
Thank you very much.